Here we have a 1974 block, small block Chevy. It's this one over here. And it still retains the threaded hole for the oil canister type oil filter that the 55 to 1967 small block Chevy 265, 283, 327, and big blocks had on them. I only mention it because someone out there might like to know this 1974 still has the threads. You can run a canister on this 74 block. I like that oil canister and used it on a 66 283 I built for a mini truck with a GM factory dual quad 4-barrel solid lift cam. It was listed for a 57 Corvette with dual quads. And I thought to myself, well, that dual quad intake manifold probably didn't breathe as good as the new style dual plane single 4-barrel intake. So I ran it, and it ran great. Super responsive. Loved that little truck. I think that canister held a quart of oil by itself, though. If you want to take a look at one, Google 1955 265 cubic inch small block canister oil filter, and eBay will pop up. Mine did not have a bracket on it. I think the truck ones are the one that had a bracket on it. I didn't want the bracket. I just wanted the canister. So pictured here is a 4-bolt main cap bolt that is the same threads. This block you're looking at now is the old 36 block, 1994. And as you can see, there's no threaded hole. I don't know when they stopped the interchangeability for the canister, but you can't use it on this block. If you do buy one, it should be 3 pieces: a through bolt, a canister, and an adapter. You need all 3 to make it work. But you won't be using it on this block because there's no hole. No threaded hole right here. In an earlier video, we mentioned chamfering the main cap edges both on the block and the caps. Can you see the chamfer in the shot? Great. That's how much chamfer I'm talking about. One you can hardly see. Take a file, lightly knock the edge off in these places on the block. And where the cap meets those places that you lightly chamfered on the block, you want to knock that edge off of there as well. If you have trouble in this area, or you find that one of the caps is sloppy on the block, your machine shop can weld the edge of it and file it down to the proper size. It happens all the time. It's an easy fix. Your machine shop can handle it, no problem. But if you take your motor in, make sure you ask them to say, hey, check these out, and then it needs to be perfect. Here's a note for the spec page in your notebook. It's a 3mm Allen wrench that fits the hole in cam bearings perfectly. You'll need this when you are trying to assess if the hole is in line with the oil trough in the cam tunnel. When you're putting your own bearings in, you got to make sure you're right there. So make a mark on the Allen wrench, and when it drops down in the trough, your mark meets the bearing or is flush. Of all the grinding and fitting to do on the block, we forgot to dial in the crank scraper. It's Milodon number 32640. It keeps oil off the crank and rods. If the windage tray doesn't get rid of excess oil, this will get it done. Now you have to fit it. And you need 45 thou clearance from the rods and 35 thou clearance from the crankshaft counterweights. So you lay a bead of silicone down, then the scraper, then another layer of silicone, the pan gasket, then the pan. We use a one-piece oil pan gasket that is extra thick in the critical areas, and it has reinforcements in the bolt holes to keep from over-torquing. Here's the part number on that Fel-Pro gasket kit, and I can see right now that I'm going to have to trim for the oil dipstick hole. I was looking in my shop manual under engine specs, and I found the original OEM specs for the 85 Suburban. It was now I had found listed in print 8:1 compression. I found 8.5 compression, but in the manual it said 8.3:1 compression ratio, and the cam was stock at 390, 409 lift, intake and exhaust respectively. And I found that to be very interesting because when I measured the 50,000 mile cam, you know what it measured? 387, 405. Very interesting. When you consider it around 50,000 miles with off-the-shelf oil. If you run behind schedule on your engine build, so be it. Don't let people or circumstances make you rush. If you need more time before taking your project in, stop and use the time wisely. Go over everything until you are sure you've got it covered. If the manual labor is done, then your focus should shift to the conversation when you check it in. What do you need to ask them about? What were the answers? Write them down. You'll forget. They're super busy right now.